Hello, I'm Matthew from the Pinpoint product team, and welcome to another edition of the Pinpoint Product Spotlight. In July, there was a heavy focus on team execution and collaboration to help you and your teams build software better. We rolled out new features and enhancements based on our roadmap and customer feedback for Pinpoint Pulse activity feed, for Pinpoint retrospectives and planning, and we also added new team metrics cards. Let's go and take a look. First off, I'd like to talk a little about our activity feed, which we are calling Pinpoint Pulse. So there's been a ton of work over the last month to make this more collaborative and make it more useful for each of us. So you'll see in the default tab, which is just called Pulse, which is kind of our activity feed for the organization, you can now add posts. So I could type something in here. You can even tag users, emojis, formatting, all that stuff. I can also comment in here, so I can see Bert created an issue yesterday, and I can comment in here to let him know that we're going to look at that. And I can also add emojis on things and just kind of show the team how you feel. Get a bit more collaboration going and a bit more conversation going in the feed. If there's something that I want to keep an eye on, I can bookmark it by clicking this bookmark icon here. And I'll bookmark this bug too. And that takes us over to the bookmarks tab, and I can see the issues that I've bookmarked here, so I can track those over time. And then when I don't need anything in here anymore, I can just kind of unbookmark it, and that will disappear from my bookmark list. Next we have the assignments, so I can see all of the issues and pull requests assigned to me. I have a lot of issues assigned to me right now because I have things I need to go in and flesh out and some stories I need to accept. Do not have many pull requests, or any right now. Given I'm a product manager, but if I was an engineer, this would be filled with pull requests that are assigned to me. And then finally, one of my favorites is the favorites stars. So you come over here, I can see all of the issues that I've starred and the pull requests. So I'm particularly interested in all of the epics that we're working, or the epics that are coming soon. So here are those epics, and I can actually see those over here on the epic dashboard under the new tab which says stars. So I can see all of the epics that I care about, rather than going into all of the in-progress epics, then having to filter through for those that I care about. So just a quick way of seeing everything that you really want to see at your fingertips really quickly. So next up, I'd like to show you where we're at now with our Pinpoint sprint planning. So here I've loaded up a sprint plan that I've created for bulk sprint. I can see there are 12 issues here that rolled over from our previous sprint. So those are identified. I can see there are no issues in the sprint right now. And then I can see our backlog down here. So I could manually go through and add some issues to this sprint. You can see some of these are already assigned to people. Or I could just come up here and hit auto pack, and then we'll fill the sprint with the issues we think are best to work on based on the priority and the capability for the team versus the forecast for those issues. So let's hit auto pack and see what we come up with. So we've added 15 issues to the sprint. It's 99% filled, and we can see the utilization of each team member here. So we can see that Nick here is at 80% utilization, which is probably around what we want, so that he has bandwidth to work on things that come up that are unplanned, for example. We see Mike here is at 92. We actually see Andrew is only at 70%. So let's go ahead and see what happens if we were to assign Andrew to this issue. And now Andrew's utilization has gone up to 98%, which is still okay. It's not too much. If we were to assign Andrew to another issue, then we see his utilization goes over 100%, and we call that out. So it's unlikely that Andrew would be able to do all of the work that has been assigned to him in this sprint. You can also add new team members here. So if I knew I was going to be working on something this sprint, I could actually add myself as a team member. And then I come in here with 0% utilization, and the sprint capacity goes down a little bit because I add a little bit more bandwidth to the team. Let's give me this issue here. And that one issue put me at 23%. So we'll be looking to roll out sprint planning from early access into full release very soon, so stay tuned for that. have actually done away with our retrospective waiting room. So previously, all the participants would join the waiting room, and then when the host was ready, they would kick off the retrospective, and then everybody could come into the sprint ratings, fill out the sprint ratings, add cards to the retro board. So now with the waiting room gone, you can just join the retro at any time throughout the sprint and add cards ready for the meeting. So if you have an idea mid-sprint that you want to talk about in retro, you don't have to keep a note and remember it. You can just come into the retro, add it, and then it will show when the team has the retro later in the sprint. The next thing I want to show, which also helps with the facilitation of retros, is the participant statuses. So you'll see we've moved the presence avatars to the top right of the screen instead of in each tab. So here I can see that myself, Mike, Keegan, and Andrew are present in this retro. And we've actually added a I'm done button to the retro board so that when people have finished adding cards, they will see an I'm done button here where I see the advanced team button because I'm the host. So when they're finished, they'll hit I'm done, their avatars will go green, and then as the host, I know everybody is finished and ready to move on. Similarly in the voting stage. So you can see here, Andrew and Mike have green avatars, which means they've used all 5 of their votes. Keegan has a yellow avatar, so that means he's still voting. So I know I need to wait a little bit more time for Keegan to finish voting before we move on. Or I can prompt Keegan and say, hey Keegan, you need to cast the rest of your votes. Next thing is sprint rating trends. So now you can actually see how your average sprint ratings are this retrospective compared to the last retrospective you ran. So we'll show an arrow up if it's better than your last retrospective, an arrow down if it's not as good, and then an equals here if it's the same as last retro. Another kind of feature we've added for the host of retros is the ability to leave without having to set somebody else as the host of the retro, which could be annoying and kind of like keep you trapped in the retro previously. So if I actually try to leave, I can leave without changing the host, and I will actually remain the host of this retro. But if somebody else joins, they can take over as host if they need to. And then finally, we added the ability to complete, edit, and delete action items from previous retros. So this is a closed retro that I created earlier as a test. I can come through here and I can mark things as complete. I can edit them. And I can delete them, like so. Last but not least, let's jump over to the Teams tab and have a look at the metrics cards for the teams. So these are some high-level aggregated metrics for the teams across your organization that aren't specifically focused on a particular sprint or a Kanban cycle, like the Agile tab is. So here I can just see some information about my teams across the last 14 days, 30, 90, last week, or I can choose a particular month if I want to. So let's take a look at June. I want to see the traceability for gold miners in June versus July. So I see it's 46% in June. How are we doing in July? So we've gone up to 49%, so that is an improvement, but there's still a bit of a way to go to catch up with the other teams. I can also kind of compare cycle time, merge time, see if those are trending positive or negative over time, and just kind of get a high-level view of my teams here. And if I click into one of these teams, I can drill in, get to the team dashboard, and do what I need to do here and dig in for more information if I need to. Let us know what you would like to see in the team metrics cards, and we'd love to start fleshing these out a bit more. As always, thank you so much for joining me, and feel free to reach out with feedback or feature requests based on anything you've seen today. Check out the change logs throughout the month to keep on top of all the changes that come out each week, and sign up to our Slack community to get involved with the discussion. Thanks again, and I'll see you next month.